Welcome in, everyone, and thank you for listening to the 103rd ever episode of the Missouri Sports Podcast, brought to you by 106 Apparel and recording from the Revel Advertising Studio in beautiful Springfield, Missouri. I'm one of your hosts, Cameron Albert, alongside my good friend and fellow Mizzou fan, Kyle DeVries. How are you doing today, Kyle?
I'm doing great, Cameron. You know, I have been forgetting about this for maybe like 4 weeks now, but...
The podcast?
No, what I'm about to say.
Oh, okay.
You earned some congratulations for winning your first Call of Duty Warzone game about a month ago.
Yeah.
And I've been meaning to congratulate you publicly for that because
thanks.
it's a nice accomplishment.
Thank you.
But I kept forgetting.
I didn't need to be backpacked. It was a solo.
That's great, man. That's huge.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Do you know how many games I played since then?
Probably zero.
Zero.
You got that win, and that was good.
I'm good. Yeah. I haven't played very many video games since I've been on vacation. The recording schedule got a little messed up. We put out an interview. Everybody should go check that out. Former Mizzou football player. We get real into the nitty-gritty of how things operated under Gary Pinkel. We talk about some of the highlights of the 2013 football season. Interview with wide receiver Cam Chancey. So go check that out. And this episode is going to be out a little bit sooner than what is typical. And for the next, how many weeks?
Okay.
What?
No, that's fine.
How many weeks?
16.
For the next 16 episodes, you'll be getting it a day earlier than you're used to.
Okay. No, that's fine.
Well, it better be. That's what I'm telling them.
Well, it's fine now.
We really planned this out, if you can tell, how we were going to break this news.
Producer Cameron is now going to be Professor Cameron, actually instructor, but I'm going to call him Professor Cameron. He's teaching a university class at Drury.
Congratulations.
That's exciting.
I've just given congratulations to both of you.
Yeah. Starting tomorrow.
Starting tomorrow.
Wow.
First class.
What are you teaching again?
Graphic design. Just like the intro class.
Intro to graphic design. Are you going to show? Do you get to show off your portfolio?
I might at some point, yeah. I mean, I could the first day if I wanted to, but I don't want to be like, all right, everybody, welcome to class. Here's all the things I've done.
Shit on them.
Well, if you're going to show them anything, maybe show them that Missouri Sports Podcast logo.
Ooh.
And, you know.
I should put that on my portfolio. That's
Yeah,
some good stuff right there.
Front and center. Get us some listeners.
I don't think I have that kind of weight, but
if they
maybe
see
in
it,
class.
they'll search it.
In class, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
If they see it, they'll search it.
I'm saying
Extra credit.
Yeah, sitting on my website, it's not going to do.
Oh, no. In class, for sure. In class. All right, Kyle, what do we have to talk about this week? There's been a lot of news. College football almost blew up.
Shenanigans.
Then it came back. Then it's on the rocks. Then some teams are playing, some teams aren't. We'll get to that. Mizzou has a new football schedule. The schedule that we grew to love over the last several months is no longer. All SEC teams, 10 games. Alabama and LSU are on there. We'll talk about that. But first, let's talk about basketball. Michael Porter Jr. is good at basketball.
It's funny you say that. I was literally going to say, turns out that he's good at basketball because we haven't really seen him play in a long time. I don't know that we've really seen Michael Porter Jr. play actual basketball since high school, since he was in high school. And now he's in the NBA, and he's in the NBA playoffs, and he's putting up some monster games, at least scoring-wise. So it's great to see. I think he's definitely developing defensively and finding his role within the team. But if there's anything he can do, it's shoot. That's for sure.
Yeah, I think his coach wanted him to crash the boards, and now that he's shown he's willing to do that, he's getting minutes.
Yeah.
And meaningful minutes in the playoffs. And he was named all-bubble second team. Second team all-bubble.
It's crazy, seeing him go from an environment at, Tolton where he can literally dunk on every possession that he could ever want. And he did. And now he is playing with the best players in the world. And, almost like his style of play has changed a little bit from what he played in high school because he can't dunk on every player. So he's definitely, what I've seen, he seems to be, playing with a lot of finesse and he just shoots a lot. Hasn't had any like crazy explosive plays yet, but yeah, he is developing at going up and challenging for rebounds and stuff like that. So it's good to see him kind of banging around down low and playing freely.
Still being fairly efficient. I mean, he's not shooting an insane number of shots to get points. So it seems like if you're tall enough in the NBA and willing to shoot 15 times, you can score a decent amount of points. But he's doing it, somewhat efficiently. It seems
he
like.
is efficient, and he's not always really taking great shots. And I know that's kind of just an NBA thing. It's not like college where you trying really hard to get the open guy every single possession. If sometimes they'll just throw up a shot even if they're not open and it still goes in. It just doesn't matter.
What's a good shot
they're so good it doesn't
professional
matter.
basketball shooter
Right.
is different than what's a good shot at any other level.
Agree.
Moving on to high school basketball recruiting, episode 101, we broke down the high school recruits that are still on Missouri's radar. Several of them have made some sort of decision since then. David Joplin committed to Texas. We knew that was going to happen. We both predicted it on the episode. Anybody who can look at a website should have known that was going to happen because that's what everybody thought. But in better news, Missouri has made a list cut down. They are still in the mix for Tamar Bates, Caleb Brown, and Sean Dura-Gordon. So we'll start it off with Sean. He released a top 8 of Georgia, Missouri, Hofstra, VCU, Auburn, Arizona State, Seton Hall, and DePaul.
That is a weird list. And you're telling me, did you say Penn State?
No,
Interesting.
No, I didn't.
I think that I heard at some point in his recruitment that Penn State might be a player. I believe your list.
Okay.
But that is interesting that Penn State did not make his final 8. Obviously, if Missouri wants Sean Dura-Gordon, they should be able to have a pretty good shot here. That is really a strange list.
Auburn, you'd think they could out-recruit anybody else on that list. You'd think maybe Tom Green could get his guy going up against that kind of competition. So it is interesting that there's 2 other SEC schools.
Mm-hmm.
And then Arizona State, who Mizzou recently lost to them in the running for Josh Christopher.
Yeah. Geographically, especially, that list just doesn't really make sense, but maybe that's something that does not matter to him whatsoever, clearly.
You ready for a list that doesn't make sense? Next is Caleb Brown. His final 6 are Missouri, West Virginia, Minnesota, Milwaukee, Mercer, and Grand Canyon.
That's a list that doesn't make sense. I don't even know how to decipher that, to be honest.
He's from Alabama.
He's probably got some mid-majors that are on him pretty hard. That obviously has committable offers from. I don't know what it looks like for some of those top tier schools that are on his list, but you'd think that he would have a shot to go to any of those places.
Grand Canyon, great atmosphere.
They are known for that.
Yep.
They legitimately are. You should go look up a video of Grand Canyon basketball. They pack that place out.
It's lit, as the kids say.
That's true.
I still feel excellent about if Missouri wants Caleb Brown, he will be Tiger.
I agree with you.
That leaves us with Tamar Bates. This list makes a lot more sense, if I'm being honest.
Yes.
Kansas, Iowa State, Texas, Oregon, Creighton, Alabama, and Missouri.
Yeah, this is truly the kind of the big fish, if you will, of this class for Missouri. It's going to be much more difficult of a battle, I think, than a lot of the players they're in on, but it may be the most important at the same time. So, it's a guy who's from Kansas, has a Kansas offer. Pretty tough to pull him out of there, if we're being honest. But he is playing at IMG right now in Florida. I don't know if that has any effect whatsoever, but
yeah, maybe he'll get homesick and it'll make him want to stay in Kansas even more.
Exactly. I don't.
That's where my thought process
either
is
way,
right now.
I'm not sure that it means much for Missouri, positively at least. So, but good to see him making the top 7.
And then a player that we talked about last time, 2 weeks ago, for the 2021 class has reclassified into 2022, and that is Logan Landers.
I think that makes sense for a guy that is pretty talented and has been kind of under-recruited a little bit. He's from Wisconsin, so maybe he's really trying to get that Wisconsin offer, and because he didn't have it yet. So
Maybe somebody from Wisconsin suggested that he reclassify. That would not be unheard of
I
for
think you could be right.
a school to kind of nudge somebody in a certain direction.
Yep.
All right. I'm just going to throw this in there because it doesn't really work later. DeMarcus Acey was spotted at 49ers camp. Ronell Perkins apparently has a tryout with those same 49ers.
I also saw a social media post from the Washington football team.
Uh-huh.
And Jonathan Johnson was in one of the 4 photos of just camp or whatever. So
Nice.
He was in the, it was actually a welcome back post for Alex Smith.
Oh,
and Jonathan Johnson was like running sprints next to him or something, which in itself, that's a absolutely crazy story.
Yeah.
Alex Smith is back.
Wasn't there a documentary?
There is, yes. I haven't seen it, but apparently it goes into very good detail of what happened and is pretty gruesome, pretty tough to watch at times.
When I heard about it, I thought, my wife being a nurse, that's right up her alley.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
at least she'll watch it.
He had a terrible injury, obviously, then got sepsis and literally almost died.
Yeah.
So, and now he's back. I think his leg is actually still like a little bit deformed. It's not like perfectly how a normal leg would look, and so he walks with kind of a limp still. And man, if I'm being perfectly honest, I'm really happy for him. I love to see him, a competitor, get back in the game, and I obviously want the best for him, but I'm just like, man, you don't have to do this.
Yeah.
Like we all believe that you're a fighter and
Yeah.
a competitor, and we respect what you've done already to this point. But I am like scared to see him like get into real action, I think.
Yeah, I would echo that. All right, now let's talk about the chaos that ensued in the college football landscape last week. I was having to look at Twitter while I was on the beach. Not that I didn't want
Sounds
to.
terrible.
I'll be honest. I liked reading everything that was going on with college football. So, taking it back to the beginning, before any conferences had decided they weren't going to play, I guess actually the MAC had decided they were not going to play, which is sad for gamblers. The players of the Power 5 conferences, I assume not every single player, because how would you organize that? Some players decided they would put out a statement on behalf of all the players of all the Power 5 conferences.
Mm-hmm.
And it basically said, we want to play. Here are some things we need to come to terms with before we're willing to actually play.
Yeah, I think it was definitely some top tier elite players kind of got together on a like makeshift Zoom call all of a sudden, and it was the Clemson quarterback.
Trevor Lawrence was
was-
spearheading
yes.
a lot of it, especially publicly on Twitter.
Yeah, and I think
I
at
have
that,
to imagine Justin Fields was involved in that as well.
yes,
based on what I've seen.
I believe at that time nothing official had been announced, but it was all the beat writers, all the national writers were hearing from their sources
Mhm.
that this was probably going to happen in the next 24 hours or so, that the Big Ten would cancel.
And meetings were being held
Yes.
with athletic directors and university presidents and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was basically, within 24 hours that the Big Ten canceled the fall football season and said that they're going to try again in the spring,
Mm-hmm.
which is just an idiotic thing to say in my opinion. But and then like immediately the Pac-12 announced as well,
Yes.
they're not playing in the fall.
Yeah, and it was a very dark day, that first day where we really started to feel like, okay, this is serious. I think college football is not going to happen. And I thought that once the Big Ten dropped out, that would probably be it. I actually am a little bit surprised that this season is still planning to continue without some of those two major conferences. But anyways, there was one day in particular where I was like, it's over. And then the players came out with their statement, and it kind of started to almost feel like the tables were turning a little bit, like there could be maybe some reconsidering going on. And then when you really dove into what the players were asking in their statement, they're kind of wanting a players union and all that kind of stuff that really is kind of a conversation for down the road, things that don't happen overnight.
Right.
And I think that may have kind of been the nail in the coffin for the Big Ten a little bit. I think that may have caused some alarm for some of the presidents a little bit.
From the outside looking in, that's how it appears.
Yes, that's a good way to put it. And then the next morning it was over pretty quickly.
Yeah, I was saying at the time to people that mostly didn't care, whoever I was around at the time that would listen to me ramble about college football, that yes, I think the players maybe shot for the moon with that statement, and that if I had any power and was talking to the players about what was happening, if I wanted the players to stay on board, which it seems like they would have been on board even without maybe the most serious requests being granted, I would have just said, like, yes, we see what you're talking about. We want to, foster this communication, but this is not a short-term thing. This is a long-term thing. So let us continue this conversation as we get the season rolling.
Mm-hmm.
Now you could easily look at that and say, yeah, that's easy for them to say, and then they'll just never revisit it once things get back to normal.
Right.
But also, the players have to understand how short of a time frame we're talking about.
Yeah. If the matter was truly we want to play, they probably should have left that for a conversation for another day. But that's not how it was structured. And
Yeah.
I mean, you
And-
got to
and-
give them credit though for
Right.
like what they were able to bring to the table in that short amount of time. I really do think they gave those presidents pause a little bit. And like we got to consider these, and it didn't end up working out for some of them, but
Yeah, and an interesting thing that we were hearing on Twitter, and sources were saying that it was kind of ACC and SEC versus Pac-12 and Big Ten, with the Big 12 kind of in the middle. They weren't sure which way they were going to go, and there were like sources saying if the Big 12 cancels, that's probably it.
Yep.
People who know more than me were saying that basically we needed 3 of the Power 5 conferences to stay committed to a fall season, and that makes sense. I mean,
Sure. Yeah, if you
it'd
have
be
if
really
you lose
hard.
the Big 12,
Yeah,
then-
it'd be really hard for 2 conferences to justify playing football if 3 of the Power 5 weren't.
Yeah, it was a little bit scary when we knew we were relying single-handedly on the Big 12
Yeah.
for a little while there.
An
but they came
organization
through.
that has not always been reliable.
We're
in the past.
relying on Texas, basically.
Yeah, exactly. And it didn't. Rumors were that Oklahoma wasn't as keen on playing as Texas or the SEC schools.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I honestly, personally, from a standpoint of I want football really badly. I want I want us to consider the health of the players, obviously, first and foremost. But I am of belief that I think we can do it. I think we can make it happen if we're careful. And I really respect for the SEC and the ACC for saying we're going to make this happen. And even if I still see a scenario where the whole college football thing doesn't happen, but at least the SEC and the ACC were like, we're really going to try, and we're not going to cancel this far in advance, and they still may get canceled, but I think they will improve their perception by doing what they did.
Speaking of giving credit, I have to give some ounce of credit to Nebraska. They put out a statement where they disagreed with the Big 10's decision, and they were basically like, we want to play football. And then there was lots of rumors.
Yeah.
I mean, lots of rumors.
Could they join another conference?
Yes. Could Nebraska play with another conference for one season? Could Ohio State play in the SEC?
Yeah.
There was a lot of players that were like, yeah, bring on Ohio State.
Yeah, and we've seen some players from other conferences transfer and want to go have immediate eligibility at other schools.
But then Nebraska put out a second statement that said they're totally committed to the Big Ten, and then now I don't care about anything they do again.
Man, if we could know what was going on like behind those closed doors to
Yeah.
what made them put that statement out.
Yeah, I have to feel like the Big Ten saw their first statement and was like, we're going to direct you to section 13.1 of the Big Ten Charter, which says don't say that.
Yeah.
Nobody else really joined in with that much like gumption, though.
Right.
So
I had to give Nebraska credit, but then the Big Ten just reined
Shut
them
it
back
down.
in,
Yeah.
said, and none of that.
I was so
And they
hopeful
said-
for a brief
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, that would have been crazy if
Mhm.
Nebraska was playing in the Big 12. They could have probably finished 4th. in
So,
the Big 12.
news today, just in the last hour or so, broke that the NCAA basically pending approval of the whole process, but it looks like players that played this year they can appear in any amount of games, and they will not use a season of eligibility. That's the way it's looking so far. That's going to be official.
How does that make any sense?
I have no idea how that works, and I have no idea. I feel like you just open up a can of worms by doing that. And obviously they want to do something for once that shows maybe they care about the players, but I mean I don't know.
This seems like a short-sighted thing to do, though.
Yeah.
Like,
there's so many consequences that may come from this.
Yeah.
And obviously,
how do you even start to think about scholarships? And then forget about scholarships. Let's say the NCAA says we have gazillion dollars. We'll pay for these scholarships for the universities.
Yeah. Well,
then you still have like recruiting classes and spots on the field.
Exactly. Football-wise, you got 100-plus players on your team now, with 5 classes of students potentially. Yeah. What on earth do you do with that? And
I guess you gotta, as a staff, you gotta figure out your numbers really quick and immediately start using that in your recruiting pitches.
Do they? That too. But do they increase the amount of roster spots on every team?
I guess, but they're still not going to play.
Exactly.
So I guess if you got to look at your recruiting competitors and see if they're deep at a position of like would-be graduates, use that against them.
So then will there be 2 senior classes the
yeah,
next year?
So
then you're like losing twice as many seniors?
Maybe. And then you're like,
well, what do we do now?
Double red shirts.
Yeah.
I'm sure that, some players will move on and won't want to play another year, but...
Well, and that'll be some tough conversations with the staff and their players to be like, yeah, you have another year of eligibility, but...
We don't want you here.
Yeah. We don't have a spot for you. Like, but I don't know. It just doesn't make any sense. I guess, we want them to have a scholarship, but are they... Just because they have eligibility, are they guaranteed a scholarship? Yeah. I don't think so.
Yeah, do they just graduate and just are basically floating for a year of their life? Like are they just not taking classes or anything like that? I don't know. I mean, stay tuned on that, I guess. I don't know. We don't know much about it yet, and that's just kind of been...
literally just announced.
Yeah, just an hour ago from some of the national writers at Yahoo. But that will be definitely something interesting to watch, and I'm worried that this season's already gonna be weird, but does it just make the season even more even more I don't care element to it? I don't
know. One other thing I wanted to mention was that Justin Fields, Ohio State quarterback, is not giving up. He posted a petition online that he was trying to get 4,000 signatures. It was close to that when I saw it.
I'm sure it'll get there. The Big Ten parents are mad. They're big mad.
And so he's not giving up. He wants to play football still. And then,
respect it.
Until games start happening without those conferences, we're going to every day see a new story about just the last couple days. There's a new test. It's a saliva test that's way better. And could that save the Big Ten and Pac-12 seasons?
Yeah.
I guess it's possible.
Yeah.
But just be prepared to see that kind of stuff all the way up until September 26th.
Exactly.
Have players have they just stopped practicing?
No, they're still practicing.
They're still practicing. Isn't that insane?
Yeah.
So is that
students are on campus and they're still practicing?
So is that mostly by the choice of the schools saying hey, just in case?
I think it's more, I guess the athletic department and the coaching staff being like, well, until they say we can't practice, we have to stay sharp,
Yeah.
To me, the games themselves are the least worrisome way of COVID-19 being transferred from player to player.
Yeah.
I mean, these players, if they're on the field playing, they've tested negative many, many times.
Yeah.
And they're probably not going to transfer it from team to team. It's what they do off the field.
Yeah.
It's the only thing that doesn't really worry me of the transfer of the virus is what they're not going to do. And that's play the actual games.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. I hadn't actually thought of it in exactly those terms, but that's absolutely true.
So what happens if the SEC and the ACC get through a full season in the Big 12? What if we limp through this season and when we play a full 10-game schedule?
I'll tell you what happens.
College football playoff.
Absolutely.
I mean, what I guess
you think ESPN's going to be like, probably no playoff. You guys played a full season.
I guess my real question is, if that happens, what happens to the presidents of these conferences that they didn't play? I mean, are they going to have to like enter the witness protection program, or like are they going to hire
you're not getting
bodyguards?
Money from bowl games. You're not.
No. I mean, yeah, that's nuts.
Crazy.
Yeah. Even, I mean, and just like, thank goodness for the SEC network being a moneymaker for the conference, since there's not going to be ticket revenue and stuff like that, most likely. I mean, I can't imagine there's going to be fans in the stadium when other conferences are not even playing.
No, and that's really not something that I'm even worried about slightly. Like at this point,
I'm only worried about it from the financial standpoint of what does that ripple effect look like?
Exactly. At this point, I can't see any scenario where there's fans in the stands.
Yeah. But if they play a full season with those three conferences, then I think it's pretty clear that we're going to have a playoff consisting of Clemson, Alabama, Texas. No, not Texas. Texas is not back, folks. Oklahoma and Missouri.
Same teams that would have already been there.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess that Big Ten spot, Ohio State spot, is up for grabs.
Pretty much.
That's about it.
Yeah, it'll be interesting.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I mean, I hope
I just still can't really get my hopes up about a season.
My hopes are up. They're sky high.
Godspeed.
Missouri. Are you ready to move on from that?
I'm ready.
That's going to be called College Football Chaos.
Okay, I like it.
In the title. Now we have the Mizzou football schedule reveal. So we had a schedule.
We're breaking the news right here.
We're revealing it. You get ready? I don't even have it written down, so I guess I should pull it up. We had a schedule with non-conference opponents and everything. Raging Cajuns.
We went through that whole schedule already.
Yep, and it's gone.
It doesn't exist.
So
Cam, I don't know if you heard.
Let's hear it.
But the first game of the season, Missouri's going to play against Alabama.
Really? You're kidding me? I haven't seen that all over Twitter.
I'm not kidding, but that is the plan as of now. Is that on September 26th?
You
Missouri
called it.
has to play Alabama.
You called it.
I really did.
On Twitter, you said, "Here comes Alabama and LSU."
I mean, it's just common sense because we knew that they were going to try and balance the strength of schedules. Well, Missouri has a pretty fair schedule at this point. And
pretty fair as in easy.
Pretty easy. Yeah. Considering the two West teams that we were already playing were Arkansas and Mississippi State. So, I mean, it really wasn't that complicated to know they were going to get Alabama, LSU, or Auburn.
I mean, to balance out Arkansas, you probably should have added Auburn as well.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
I went there.
Yeah.
So, and now Alabama's first game of the season. At home in Columbia in front of 0 fans, probably.
Yeah. So, I mean, let's just put it this way. Missouri's not going to win very many games probably this year. I mean, maybe there's a lot of opportunities at this point. There's a lot of opportunities. I don't even know if I'll call them games at this point. Just opportunities.
They're just opportunities
to play, to maybe knock off somebody at some point.
Opportunity number 1, Alabama.
I mean, no better time to play them, I guess, than game number 1.
In a weird situation. They have to go on the road, no fans.
They have no idea what to expect. They don't even know who the starting quarterback's going to be.
Great point.
Because Coach Drinkwood said he is not releasing that information, which will be actually fascinating when we imagine this. Flip on your TV, sitting on the couch. You're about to watch college football.
You just said you don't have your hopes up, and now you're doing this to me.
Stay with me.
I'm with you.
You flip on your TV, college football. It's like a crisp, 65 and sunny outside. Actually, It's not going to be that on September 26th, but
we're pretending. It's fine.
And you don't even know who Missouri's quarterback is going to be.
Oh, yeah. And do we have times for these games yet?
I don't think so.
Okay. I'm going to imagine this is on CBS at 11 a.m.
Oh, absolutely. And I don't know. I'm so excited. Just who trots out there, and I mean, that point remains for the whole team. I'm excited to see the whole team. Who comes out? Who plays? Who makes plays? But we haven't had this situation for a long time where we don't know who the quarterback's going to be. So it's enticing.
Oh yeah, very exciting.
And now my hopes are up.
Congratulations. Welcome. I don't know if it's a great idea to. I really kind of wish that Drinkwitz would have just, if he was asked, who's the quarterback? You got any idea on the starter? I wish he would have just said, not sure yet, and just left it at that. I don't really love that he said, I'm not going to announce a quarterback before Alabama. I want to give them some extra work. Because that is just like kind of Nick Saban. What did
he's just dangling.
What's the other name that he was called?
Lou Saban.
Lou Saban. You know, he needs anything to be like, oh, look at what they think about us.
All of his analysts have not slept since he said that.
Right. He's like, okay, they think that they think the quarterback matters. All right, we're going to show them that it doesn't.
Yeah, I agree.
You could literally say
first lesson,
like give a not good enough compliment to a Lou Saban team, and he's going to use that as fuel for them. They didn't compliment us enough.
I agree. I watched Coach Drinkwitz's press conference the past couple days, and man, he's kind of snarky.
Oh, yeah. I kind of like it.
I kind of love it. You know, he's kind of just playful with the reporters and stuff, and he will destroy you. If you ask a dumb question, he will punish you for it publicly. And he did that a couple of times on yesterday's call in particular. But I'm just imagining a scenario. This is not a great scenario to imagine, but 2 years from now, and maybe we're not as good as we thought we might be or something, and he's still this snarky. I'm like, are we still gonna like this as much as we do now? I
Definitely
don't know.
not. Yeah. Missouri goes on the road at LSU for game 3.
What's game 2?
Oh, okay. Well, I'll tell you. It's Tennessee.
Oh man.
On the road.
Okay.
Yikes. That's an opportunity for not good things. On the road at LSU, back home against Vanderbilt, at Florida, home against Kentucky, home against Georgia, at South Carolina, home against Arkansas. That was supposed to be played in Kansas City. Probably not.
I don't think it will be, no.
And then to finish the 10-game SEC season at Mississippi State.
Right now, the Arkansas game says Columbia.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's truly murderer's row, especially the first half, the first 4 or 5 games. It's just
thank goodness for
insane.
Arkansas.
Yeah.
Vegas has the over/under at 3 wins.
I was about to say instant reaction. How many wins?
Wow.
I honestly think the ceiling is probably 4 or 5.
It is hard for me to get over 3.
Yeah.
And that sounds crazy, but you would have to give Missouri a win in a game in which they're not going to be
like a toss-up.
It's not going to be a toss-up.
They're going to have to be like Kentucky
or
Mississippi State to be able to win 3 games. And I think both those games will be toss-ups. Missouri's not played well against Kentucky the last few years. Beatable Kentucky teams. Mm-hmm. Missouri hasn't been able to the last 2 or 3 seasons.
And then even when Kentucky is really good and Missouri plays with them, can't seal the deal.
Yeah. Thanks for bringing that up. Yeah. Honestly, being anybody in the SEC, even like Vanderbilt or a bad Arkansas team, you just have. I mean, these are still some of the most talented players in the country. You have no idea when they're just gonna be really good that day.
Yeah. Obviously, I can joke about Arkansas being bad all I want, and then Missouri can still go lose to them.
Yeah. So
it's not.
There's not a single like easy win on the schedule this year. So yeah, 3 is pretty tough over under for me.
I agree. Like, if I'm trying to bet that, I guess I go over. But mainly because I don't want to think about the under.
Yeah. But I think I've seen some people on the internet say that they're not going to really judge Drinkwitz by this season, and I think that's fair. There's certain aspects of the season I will definitely be watching and I'll judge, but just strictly wins and losses, I think we're going to have to be pretty forgiving this season.
Yeah, let's hear it.
I was going to say, if he goes out and wins 6 games, are you going to judge him?
Probably.
Yeah. Expectations will be through the roof.
Yeah.
Kyle, you were mentioning something about film.
Yeah.
What was that? I just wrote down no film.
Yeah, Coach Drinkwitz, I watched his press conference today, and he brought up an interesting point. Well, the reporter brought it up, I think. Just kind of talking about how they were going to assemble their lineup this year and what players were standing out. And Coach Drinkwitz said something that kind of floored me a little bit, that he wanted to create, I guess he didn't want to have any preconceived ideas of what players in the past have
I'll tell you later.
okay, have stood out or anything. He wanted to come in and just decide the best players are going to play. I think these players are the best. And so he said he has not watched any amount of film on previous Missouri teams at all, including last year, to see, who was the playmakers and that kind of stuff. He said the only reason that he's watched last year's film was just to look at the other teams to see what they were doing schematically. Do you buy that?
I guess I do buy it. Why? I don't know why he would say it if it weren't true. I think I buy it, but why do that? Is it really? I guess I don't necessarily see the wisdom in actually doing that.
I think that, and I kind of think Coach Drinkwitz thinks he's awesome, and I like it about him. I respect his self-confidence, but
we hope he is awesome.
I think he kind of thinks he's just the best, and he's trying to be mysterious a little bit. You can tell he just has a brand, and he's doing everything he can to stay on the brand, and I respect it. But I mean, truly, and when I watch his press conferences, I'm like, this guy's going to be amazing. He kind of convinces you, this guy knows what he's freaking talking about. And we're kind of yet to be seen if that's true or not, if he will live up to his kind of mysticism. But I think that's just part of the character, man. I think that whether it's true or not, I think he really wants us to believe, this man just wants to come in and do it his way. He's been very adamant about, I don't care what happened last year. This is now. This is my team now, and I hired these guys, and this is my team. So
I guess what doesn't make sense to me is if I'm coming in, and maybe it would be, I don't know. I'm trying to think, if he had a quarterback on this roster, if he was trying to make this starting quarterback decision, and he had a quarterback on this roster that played 80% of snaps last year, I have to think he's watching every single one of those snaps.
Well, that's what I'm thinking.
And figuring out how, when you're installing a new offense, you have to figure out, I mean, maybe you're just able to do this all in camp. It doesn't add up to me that he wouldn't look at last year's film to figure out, just to see sets and plays that carry over.
Yeah. I think it was Peter Baugh, I think is his name, is the reporter that asked the question. And after Coach answered it, he clarified, am I understanding this correctly? You haven't watched film of last year's team at all. And he said, no, I have not. Only for the other team to see what they were doing schematically. So, because we're gonna do our own thing. So
I guess I believe it, and I can understand why he would like that idea. It's the comparison that jumps into my head is not using last year's for the college football playoff, waiting until week 8 to release your first rankings and not worrying about what happened last year. Because if you're releasing rankings in week 1, that's only based off of what happened last year.
Yes.
So if you're trying to figure out how your players fit into this new scheme, only base it off what you're seeing when they are being instructed by you and your staff in the new scheme.
In theory, I think yes, that's perfectly how he would want it to work. I don't think that I can buy that he hasn't watched any film of individual players and their performances.
So I think I do disagree with you. I do believe him. I just don't think it's a good idea. But that is why he's the coach and I'm not.
Yeah, he definitely is the coach. He has made that well known.
And if it wasn't a good idea, we may find out quickly that it didn't really work out the way he thought it would.
Yeah, I think I made the joke before we started recording that we're going to see some random running back playing quarterback or something.
Oh, yeah, because he threw one pretty ball in camp.
It's oh, wow, that kid must be who they had last year. So
yeah, he doesn't even...
a fourth-string running back.
He doesn't even ask them what position they are. He just has every player throw a football. It's all right, that was a pretty ball. You're my quarterback. Yeah.
Like Dawson Downing's trotting out there and he's the starter against Alabama. I like me some Dawson Downing. I'm not gonna lie.
Might just work.
Little Wildcat.
Yep. Is Alabama going to be
Good.
just like
Probably.
really not just all out of sorts. First game like this is so weird. Usually we're playing Michigan in the Georgia Dome or in the Superdome or something. Usually we're playing
Yeah.
some cross conference top 10 team in some sort of dome. What's going on here? Why are we in Columbia, Missouri?
Missouri's going to score the first points of that game.
All right. Writing that down.
All right. That's a blood bank guarantee right there. Missouri's going to score first.
Who's gonna score?
Larry Roundtree.
Oh, I thought I was teeing you up to say Tyler Beatty.
Well, I wanted to, but I really wanted to also get it right.
Oh my gosh. All right. I won't have this piece of paper in a month, but
We'll remember
I'll
that.
remember. All right. Do we have anything else to talk about? We get all the chaos sorted out.
I think so.
I want us to go through and really pick all the SEC schedule and actually pick it to where, not like live, but each separately pick every game of the SEC schedule for all the teams that Missouri plays. Or maybe all of them. I don't know. I'm just saying stuff as I think of it now. And come up with our champion.
Cool.
So we'll do that at a later date. And then we'll start previewing the team, and we got to do a 7-on-7 draft. We got a lot of stuff to do before season kicks off.
Yeah, well, we got a couple extra weeks this year.
True. That's why we had some interviews. Go check out our interviews. And Kyle, where can they find those interviews?
All right, everybody. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, Music, Podcasts. We're on Twitter and Instagram.
At Mizzou Sports Pod. You can email us.
At Missouri
Sports. Say it.
Pod.
At gmail.com.
Correct.
And check out our interviews. Google Play Music is not even a thing anymore. They deleted it.
That was like
off the face of the earth.
Like a weird flashback that was from like a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
I was like, Google Play Music.
Yeah. Well, I used to have you say that. That's true.
Yeah, that's true.
Go subscribe. Give us a like on any of the platforms. Review us on any of the platforms. And that's all.
Give us some feedback on Twitter,
Yep. We love that feedback.
but not too mean.
Well, I'll take anything we can get.
We'll block you.
Yeah, that's true. Thank you, everyone, for listening. We will see you next week. Bottom.